So, all other things being equal, you need to decide if gender matters or not for the general welfare of both society and of the child. So you can't just say, well, does it affect society, or does it affect just the child? As both. If it hurts the general welfare of all of society, whether now or into the future, or if it hurts the child, then we have a problem. Again, think about the separate but equal. Separate but not equal. Separate but not equal was the ruling. Separate but not equal is the way I believe it is. Gender matters. If we're better off as a society, if we have more kids exposed in a close paternal relationship to just one gender, again, remember, all things being equal, are we better off if we have more kids exposed in a close paternal relationship to just one gender, or are we better off as a society if we have more kids exposed in a close paternal relationship to both? Think about it. All other things being equal. Now this is again where the fallacy comes up of, well, then why don't you take away kids of single parents? Or why don't we outlaw divorce? Or any other numbers of extreme proposals. This again forgets that society walks a balance of carrot and sticks so as to minimize restrictions, to minimize force, to maximize liberty, and to keep it in balance with stability, domestic tranquility. It also forgets that this is about the general welfare. The fact that we have poor people, or people who have had bad things happen to them, doesn't mean our Constitution has failed, or that it's inherently been infringed against. Because the Constitution doesn't say that it guarantees the welfare of every individual all the time. That is, it doesn't make sure that you always have food in your mouth. It doesn't make sure that you always have a good day. It does guarantee that you always have certain rights. But it doesn't guarantee, that your welfare is always top-notch. But rather, it's the general welfare. So you see, the Founding Fathers weren't so stupid as to either think that the government could perfect everyone's welfare, nor that it should ever try to, through government only, to force the universal welfare on all of the nation. The final point from the preamble is to ensure the blessings of liberty on us and our posterity. We've laid out quite explicitly how key posterity is to this. I also hope you've come to realize that liberty isn't simply liberalizing institutions. Stable liberty, and a people that will last indefinitely into the future while remaining in that liberty, and with justice as all, that is what we're seeking. That is what is sought. Traditional marriage is the foundation of that because it provides the pillars that best enable both our children to be as free, stable, and taken care of and protected as possible, not just now, but into the future. Same-gender couples have and should always have their liberty, but their liberty and justice doesn't justify them altering the foundation of society's key unit, the family. It doesn't authorize them to alter marriage. It doesn't authorize them to force kids into a separate and then claim that it's an equal environment. And again, speaking of a society promoting ideals, promoting and endorsing ideals. Society, if it's going to promote and endorse something, should promote and endorse something that's not promoting and endorsing a separate but equal. It's separate and not equal. Separate is not equal. Kids need a mother and a father. And this isn't just about health and welfare and growing up to be productive citizens in society. It's about being able to perpetuate that. And it's about justice. The greatest organizational constraint through human history up to this point has been households. The greatest organizational constant through human history up to this point has been households where a man and a woman came together to either produce and raise, or to take in and raise children or are more likely than not to seek the same thing, to seek to do that same thing. And this has perpetuated itself with success from time immemorial. Gender has been chosen by natural selection through the course of human history as central to the perpetuation of humanity. Something as undefined and fluid as what's termed sexual orientation cannot be allowed to trump the vitality and import of gender and its influence and absolute import to both society and the family in not merely producing children, but in transmitting culture, society, and the essence of humanity in a stable and lasting way. Go and look up the definitions of sexual orientation. Go and look these up on websites of groups that are backing no on Prop 8, that want the definition of marriage changed. You'll find what the definition of sexual orientation is, and you'll see that those places that uphold these definitions, that are trying to say no on 8, that are trying to redefine marriage, keep marriage redefined in California, that they'll say that sexual orientation is a grand conglomeration of things, that it can change throughout your life, that there's many factors involved, and if there's all these factors involved, and it's multifaceted and unfixed and fluid, then why can't we have parents sacrifice tendencies, because that's what a man and a woman do when they decide to come together. If you're saying that you're going to be faithful, that you're going to limit who you're going to be with for the sake of your posterity, for the welfare of your posterity, then why can't you choose which tendencies you will and won't lay down? Because that's what's happening. Sexual tendencies are being laid aside by people who get married, men and women who get married to have children. If they're taking their marriage covenant seriously, they're laying aside sexual variety, which is a big thing for men. If you don't think it is, I don't think you know enough men. But they're laying aside that. They're saying, this may be a tendency of mine, but I'm not going to pursue it because I love my wife, I love my partner, but even more, I love posterity, whether it's the posterity we have together, or if it's the children we take in. And so, with this, I can tell you, this is just sacrifices is the key of marriage here. Now, some will ask, why do you treat them differently just because they have different desires? Why do you get to marry the one you want, or the one you love, and they don't? And there's many people that may love many people, but they may limit who they marry to a single person, and so they're denying the totality of their sexuality for the sake of posterity. And why can't those with same gender attraction do the same? If they truly want to form a family, why can't they do the same? And there's other things, there's other tendencies beyond merely sexual stuff that people inhibit to create families. Why this presupposition that what they are being asked to sacrifice for posterity is greater? Or even why the ignoring that marriage is so linked to posterity? Some of them do. Some of them try to ignore it. They say, oh, this is just about love between two people. And again, that brings up one of my first points, with why is 2 a magic number? And what does just 2 people committing, what does that in and of itself bring to society that other things don't? So, equality in society does not and cannot demand equality on one side and ignore it on the other, especially when the side that's taking the brunt of the inequality, the children, the minority that we most need to protect. because they are our future. They are the future.